You don't sell drugs! You don't molest little children!
Hello, and today we are going to talk about the 2010 movie, Super, directed by James Gunn. Have you ever been a child and always wanted to be a superhero? I mean, we all spent a lot of money on taking ourselves or our kids, our partners, our relatives, to see the comic book characters come to life. What started beautifully in 1978 with Richard Donner's Superman continued with success in the guise of Batman. Throughout the 90s, we thought we were bombarded with superhero movies then. We are oversaturated now. The super has disappeared from these movies. In the sweet spot of the rise of superhero movies, a low-budget black comedy movie directed by James Gunn called Super was released. It went under the radar for many, but for me it really hit a chord. It tugged on my own feelings. The story is simple. A simple, friendly, nice, nerdy guy has his wife lured away from him, a woman who he has loved and looked after. Frank, the main character, is the underdog of this movie. He loves his wife Sarah. He believes that he can really make her see that she has made the wrong choice by leaving him for a life of drugs. When someone leaves you, it can really toy with your mind. What we thought was safe and a part of our future has now left us. They once said that they loved us, and now they have left and shut the door. When we are behind closed doors and our chips are down, we sometimes pray to God in desperation. We may not believe in God most of our lives, but in our very moment of need we dismay any dismissive behaviors of naysaying God. We pray. This is what Frank does. He has an idea. He will fight the people who have taken his Sarah away from him. Sarah is a beautiful woman, but she has a weakness to drink and drugs. Frank believes that if he can take her away from that scenario, that she will open her eyes and realize the error of her ways. The fact is, even though Frank loves Sarah, Sarah really never loved him. She loved him because she thought it was the right thing to do, and that Frank was a good, caring man. The reality is that she was bored. Bored of Frank's ordinary ways, bored of his predictable attitude towards things. She wanted excitement, for a man to be a man. Frank, having nothing to lose, decides to become a superhero, making the most ridiculous costume and calling himself the Crimson Bolt. Frank heads off into the night to stop crime. But this is not the movies. This is reality. Crime is always happening, but it is not a case of just walking the streets, taking out the thugs, and saving the day. True crime happens behind closed doors. Frank experiences this in his early days of wearing the costume. Does this world need superheroes? I would say yes. More so than ever, but a superhero in a costume? Unless you have special powers or skills, I would not recommend it. The reality is you would have to really hurt someone to stop them. If you are not built physically, then you would need to use tools or agility to save the day. Now, the reason that movie Super is fantastic is because of the underlying heart that is behind the movie. All of the elements from a big Marvel movie are used here, but in a more realistic way. The Crimson Bolt will kill people. He will go crazy and smash you over the head with a wrench. Whatever he touches with that red heavy wrench, he will destroy. The story is beyond pathetic. People will cringe at how ridiculous the situation is. People may say that they prefer the movie Kick-Ass. I like them both, but the movie Kick-Ass suffers from too much unrealism. Kick-Ass starts off beautifully, but by the end of the movie it is as unrealistic as a Marvel movie. Jetpacks and silly gadgets make it generic by the end of the film. In Super, it is grounded. Grounded by the heart of Frank and his pursuit of saving Sarah. The only person who believes in Frank is the nerdy girl who works at the comic store. She knows all there is to know about comics and characters. She becomes obsessed with Frank, and she is turned on by the fact that Frank is now a real-life superhero. He has gone from zero to hero in her eyes. Even though Frank feels shame for what he is doing, she is applauding him for everything he does. This encouragement gives Frank the energy to continue. Do mob bosses exist? Of course they do. Frank knows he cannot just ring the police. The police do not care that his wife has left him. So wearing his ridiculous costume, Frank plans to save his wife and sail off into the sunset. He takes the comic book store assistant under his wing. I am not here to spoil the plot, or the ending, or tell you about amazing scenes. These are to be experienced when you watch it. Simplicity can work. We do not need glitz and glamour to make the movie super work. This movie is mostly about regret, reflecting on life and how things just slip through your fingers and you have no control over it. Frank learns this the hard way. Love drives Frank to seek justice, taking justice into his own hands to save just one girl. No different to Spider-Man, Superman, or Batman. This is the reason we watch these movies, whether they are respectable or not. We watch them to learn how to be as people. So seek justice, be silly, and have fun with the movie Super, one of James Gunn's best pieces of work. Watch it when you are feeling low or sad, and realize that you can make a difference if you put in the effort. Frank learned this, and we are lucky enough to see his journey. So watch Super and you can thank me later.